The soft hum of the spacecraft's engines filled the dimly lit chamber as I adjusted my holographic displays, carefully documenting my observations of Earth's peculiar inhabitants. As an interstellar anthropologist from the Centauri system, I had spent 3 years studying human civilization, yet countless mysteries still eluded my understanding. Their intricate social customs, complex emotional responses, and especially their obsession with physical differences continued to fascinate me. My research took an unexpected turn during a routine cultural immersion session at a local coffee shop. The rich aroma of freshly ground beans filled the air as I sat observing the morning crowd, my specialized camouflage technology allowing me to appear perfectly human. A young child, no more than 4 years old, toddled past my table, stopped abruptly, and stared at me with wide-eyed wonder. "Why do you look different?" the child asked innocently, pointing at my carefully constructed human form. My heart nearly stopped. Had my camouflage malfunctioned? I quickly checked my reflection in the window, but everything appeared normal. The same olive skin, dark hair, and brown eyes I had carefully selected from my species' advanced morphing database. The child's parent quickly apologized and ushered them away, but the encounter left me deeply unsettled. That evening, as I reviewed my research notes in my hidden observation pod high above the city, I discovered something alarming. Despite years of meticulous study, I had overlooked a fundamental aspect of human physical variation, one that seemed to carry immense social and cultural significance. My scanners had detected subtle but consistent anatomical differences among humans that my species simply didn't possess. This revelation sent me down a fascinating rabbit hole of scientific inquiry. I spent weeks analyzing historical records, medical databases, and social media patterns, trying to understand how these physical variations influenced human society. The more I learned, the more questions emerged. Why did humans place such emphasis on these differences? How had they shaped their cultural evolution? And most intriguingly, why did they seem simultaneously obsessed with and uncomfortable discussing these variations? My investigation led me to countless surprising discoveries about human biology, society, and culture. But perhaps the most unexpected revelation came from an elderly professor I interviewed under the guise of conducting academic research. "You know," she said, adjusting her wire-rimmed glasses, "humans spend so much time focusing on our physical differences that we often forget our fundamental similarities." As I compile this report for my home world, I can't help but reflect on how this mission has transformed my understanding not just of humans, but of life itself. What started as a simple anatomical observation has blossomed into a profound exploration of identity, diversity, and the universal search for belonging. But just as I thought I was beginning to grasp these complex dynamics, something happened that would challenge everything I thought I knew about human nature. During a routine data collection mission at a local science museum, I encountered something that would force me to question not only my research methods, but the very purpose of my mission on Earth. The security alarm had just begun its evening chime, signaling the museum's closing time. As I prepared to leave, a peculiar exhibit caught my attention, one that would reveal a truth about humans that no amount of theoretical research could have prepared me for. Standing there, beneath the dying light of a late autumn day, I realized my greatest discovery was yet to come. The exhibit that caught my eye was a simple display about human genetic diversity. What made me pause wasn't the content. It was the reflection I saw in the glass. For a fraction of a second, my camouflage flickered, revealing a glimpse of my true form. But that wasn't what disturbed me. It was the human security guard standing directly behind me, eyes wide with disbelief. I held my breath, waiting for the scream, the alarm, the chaos that would surely follow. Instead, the guard, whose name tag read Alex, simply tilted their head and whispered, "I always knew we weren't alone." That moment marked the beginning of an unexpected alliance. Alex, I learned, had spent years working night shifts at the museum, observing patterns in the universe exhibit that others had missed. They had noticed subtle inconsistencies in the accepted theories about human origins, discrepancies in ancient artifacts that hinted at extraterrestrial contact. "The thing about humans," Alex explained one night as we sat in the empty planetarium, is that we're so focused on categorizing everything, putting people in boxes based on how they look, where they're from, what's between their legs. But the real mystery isn't our differences, it's our similarities. Their words struck a chord with my research. I had been so preoccupied with documenting human physical variations that I'd missed something profound: the underlying unity of their species. Despite their surface-level differences, humans shared a deep capacity for connection, curiosity, and compassion. But my revelations were interrupted by an urgent message from my home world. My superiors had detected unauthorized information sharing in my sector. They were sending an inspection team. My heart sank as I realized the implications. If they discovered my friendship with Alex, both of us would face severe consequences. The next few days became a delicate dance of concealment and discovery. During the day, I maintained my routine observations, documenting the endless stream of museum visitors. At night, Alex and I dove deeper into our shared investigation of human nature. They showed me their personal research, decades of meticulous notes about unexplained phenomena, historical anomalies, and patterns in human behavior that suggested a greater awareness of the cosmos than my species had believed possible. What fascinated me most was Alex's theory about human adaptability. They believed that the physical variations I'd been studying weren't just random mutations, but evidence of an extraordinary capacity for evolution. Humans aren't just surviving. They explained, we're constantly becoming something new. But as our understanding grew, so did the danger. Security cameras began appearing in unusual places around the museum. New staff members asked probing questions about Alex's night shift activities, and my own scanning equipment detected increased surveillance from orbit. One evening, as sunset painted the museum walls in shades of amber and gold, Alex rushed into my observation post, their usually calm demeanor shattered by urgency. In their hands was an ancient artifact they discovered in the museum's restricted storage, one that would change everything we thought we knew about the relationship between our species. "Look at these markings," they whispered, carefully unwrapping a small, iridescent object. "They're identical to the patterns on your." Alex's voice trailed off as footsteps echoed through the corridor. Heavy, purposeful footsteps, accompanied by the distinct hum of energy weapons I recognized all too well. The inspection team had arrived early. In those crucial seconds, Alex and I moved with perfect synchronization. They quickly wrapped the artifact in their jacket while I activated my emergency cloaking protocol. A risky maneuver that could either render me completely invisible or catastrophically expose my true form. The footsteps grew closer, accompanied by the distinct electronic whine of scanning equipment. "The storage room," Alex whispered, already moving. "There's a maintenance tunnel they don't know about." We slipped through the dimly lit corridors, my superior night vision guiding us past display cases filled with Earth's ancient treasures. The artifact in Alex's jacket pulsed with a faint blue glow, its energy signature growing stronger with each passing moment. The inspection team's voices echoed through the halls, 3 distinct frequencies I recognized as senior investigators. Their scanners would detect my energy signature if we stayed in one place too long. But there was something else in their tactical chatter that chilled me. They weren't just looking for me. They knew about Alex. We reached the storage room just as the first scanner beam swept past us. Alex's hands trembled slightly as they pulled aside a heavy shelf, revealing a narrow passage behind it. The artifact's glow had intensified, now casting eerie shadows on the walls. Its markings, identical to the biological patterns of my species, seemed to shift and change in the darkness. "It's trying to tell us something," Alex whispered, studying the symbols. "Look, these patterns, they're not just similar to your species, they're showing how we're connected." But before they could elaborate, a harsh alarm shattered the silence. The inspection team's scanners had detected the artifact's energy signature. My hearts raced as we crawled through the maintenance tunnel, decades of dust and cobwebs clinging to our clothes. Above us, heavy boots thundered past. The artifact's pulsing grew stronger, more insistent. Alex gasped as some of the symbols began to project onto the tunnel walls, showing images that challenged everything both our species thought we knew about human origins. We emerged in the museum's planetarium, stars wheeling silently overhead on the dome. The artifact was now vibrating, its glow illuminating Alex's determined face. "We need to understand what it's showing us," they said urgently. "This isn't just about your research anymore. It's about why your people have been watching us all along." The planetarium doors burst open. Silhouetted against the hallway lights stood three tall figures who had abandoned their human disguises. Their true forms rippled with bioluminescent patterns, patterns that matched both the artifact and my own natural skin. The lead investigator stepped forward, their voice resonating at a frequency that made the artifact pulse even brighter. "You discovered something that was hidden for millennia," they said, their tone carrying both threat and awe. "Now you'll both learn why some secrets were meant to stay buried." The artifact suddenly flared with blinding intensity, and in that brilliant flash, Alex and I saw a truth that would forever change both our worlds. The artifact's light revealed holographic images that rippled through the planetarium, ancient star maps, genetic sequences, and most shockingly, scenes from Earth's distant past. But these weren't just historical records. They were blueprints, showing how my species had engineered subtle variations into early humans, creating the diversity that fascinated me so much during my research. "The physical differences you've been studying," the lead investigator said, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with intensity, "were our greatest experiment, but we never expected humans to develop such remarkable adaptability." Their words carried a note of fear that I'd never heard from my kind before. Alex stepped forward, still clutching the artifact. "You didn't create our differences," they said, voice steady despite the tension. "You were trying to control them, to limit them. But something went wrong, didn't it? We evolved beyond your predictions." The artifact suddenly began resonating with Alex's voice, projecting new images. They showed humans developing abilities that my species had never intended, not just physical adaptations, but extraordinary cognitive leaps. The lead investigator moved to seize the artifact, but froze as it revealed one final, devastating truth. My species hadn't engineered humanity. We had engineered ourselves from them. "Impossible," one of the other investigators whispered, their patterns flickering with distress. But the evidence was undeniable. The genetic markers I'd been studying weren't signs of our influence on humans. They were traces of our desperate attempt to separate ourselves from our human origins. Alex's eyes met mine, filled with understanding. "This is why they sent you here," they said softly. "Not to study us, but to understand yourself." The artifact pulsed in agreement, its glow synchronizing with my own natural bioluminescence. But before we could process this revelation, alarm sirens blared throughout the museum. On the planetarium dome, emergency signals flashed in patterns I'd never seen before. The lead investigator's patterns shifted to warning colors. "They're coming," they said, all pretense of authority gone. "The ones who know the full truth, the real architects." Through the dome's glass, we saw lights descending from the night sky. Not the subtle craft of my species, but something far more ancient and powerful. The artifact began vibrating at a frequency that made reality itself seem to bend. The ancient vessels descended through the museum's glass dome, their crystalline surfaces refracting moonlight in impossible patterns. As shards of glass rained down around us, the artifact in Alex's hands began to transform, its surface flowing like liquid metal until it formed a perfect sphere. The architects weren't trying to hide our origins. I realized watching the sphere pulse in harmony with the approaching ships. They were protecting us until we were ready. Alex nodded, their eyes reflecting the ethereal light. The lead investigator and their team had backed away, their patterns displaying a mix of awe and terror. The sphere projected one final sequence, not of the past, but of potential futures. It showed humanity and my species reuniting, sharing knowledge, evolving together. But it also showed the price of this unity, the complete dissolution of the artificial barriers we created between us, including the physical differences I've been studying so intently. "The question was never what's between our legs," Alex said, understanding dawning in their eyes. "It was what's between our stars, the space we created to hide from ourselves." The sphere pulsed in confirmation, its light growing to encompass us all. The architects' ships hung suspended above us, waiting. Their presence made one truth crystal clear. They hadn't engineered either of our species. They had simply given us the tools to engineer ourselves, watching patiently as we struggled with our shared identity across millennia. In that moment of clarity, my camouflage melted away completely, but instead of revealing my true form, it showed something entirely new, a perfect blend of human and my species' characteristics. Alex gasped as their own form began to shift subtly, resonating with the sphere's energy. The lead investigator stepped forward, their patterns now matching the complex harmonies of the architect's ships. "We thought we were studying them," they said softly, "but they were waiting for us to understand ourselves." Above us, the architect's ships began a descent that would change both our worlds forever. But as the ships touched down, the sphere revealed one final, stunning truth. The architects weren't our creators or our guardians. They were our children, sent back through time to ensure their own creation through the union of both our species. The future they showed us wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. Alex smiled, taking my hand as our forms continued to shift and merge. "So," they said, "ready to discover what we really are." The sphere pulsed one last time, and the boundaries between human and alien, past and future, dissolved in a flash of brilliant light. As the brilliant light faded, the planetarium had transformed into something beyond imagination. Where there had been walls, now stood transparent barriers showing the vast expanse of space. Alex and I stood transformed, our merged forms reflecting both our origins. The architects, our future children, moved among us with grace, their crystalline bodies housing consciousness evolved beyond our understanding. The lead investigator and their team had also shed their rigid forms, accepting the change that rippled through all present. The truth of our shared heritage dissolved millennia of separation in mere moments. The physical differences that had once seemed so significant now appeared as beautiful variations in a unified species. "The museum will need a new exhibit," Alex chuckled, their voice carrying new harmonics that resonated with the sphere's lingering energy. They were right. Our discovery would reshape humanity's understanding of not just their past, but their future. The architects shared knowledge of civilizations spread across countless galaxies, all waiting for Earth's children to join them. My research mission had evolved into something far more profound. Instead of studying human differences, I found myself documenting our reunion, recording how two branches of the same species learned to become one again. The architects showed us how this merger would spark unprecedented advancement, not just in technology and science, but in consciousness itself. The sphere, now integrated into both Alex and me, served as a permanent reminder of our journey. Its energy helped others understand their true nature, spreading knowledge of our shared heritage across both worlds. Physical differences became celebrated as expressions of our species' remarkable adaptability rather than barriers between us. But perhaps the most beautiful outcome was the simplest, the way people from both our worlds began to see themselves in each other. The questions that had once preoccupied me about human physical variations now seemed like early steps toward a much greater understanding. As I stand here now, recording this final log entry, the museum has become a beacon for both species. The planetarium serves as a gathering place where humans and my people share stories, exchange knowledge, and plan our shared future. The architects maintain their silent watch, ensuring the timeline that leads to their creation remains intact. Alex, still adapting to their enhanced form, leads tours that explain our true history. They always end with the same powerful message. The greatest discovery wasn't what made us different. It was what made us the same. Looking up at the stars through the planetarium's restored dome, I realized my original mission succeeded in ways I never imagined. I came seeking to understand human physical differences, but found instead the profound truth of our universal connection. The space between our worlds had never been empty. It was filled with the story of who we were always meant to become. The architects prepare to depart, their mission complete. As their ships rise into the night sky, Alex squeezes my hand. Ready for our next adventure? They ask. Above us, the endless stars beckon, promising new discoveries for our reunited species. Together, we step forward into a future where the only meaningful difference is the one between who we were and who we're becoming.